Hey, y'all, buckle up. We've got another thing going here on Kilroy's Outlaws, Legends, and Beyond the Music. Here we go.
Welcome to Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music with your host, multi-award-winning music producer, Eddie Kilroy. And now, here's your host, Eddie Kilroy.
Hey, y'all. I said that, didn't you? I say y'all a lot because I'm from Texas. Hey, I want to say good day to you. We've got a fun deal going today. You know, I've spent years in Nashville, and I've got tons of stories about recording artists, different situations I've been in, 4 decades there, running record companies, producing artists, being one of the gang, I guess you would say, that made Nashville, made music grow. But today we're going to talk about something a little different. I usually talk about an artist, a particular friend of mine, or they don't have to be a friend, just things I know about an artist that probably you're not aware of. But today, I decided on doing this show on a particular guy that dressed the stars. And I loved it because now, when I rarely watch an award show or see anything about what they call now country, I see a bunch of guys that I hate to say they look like homeless street people because I think it's insulting to the homeless street person. I mean, they go out and they get denim pants and they take a razor blade and they cut holes in them. And some of the guys, like 40, 50 years old, which I consider should be adults, they slice little pieces of stuff out of their jeans and they have ragged old shirts, and they try to be probably just as sloppy as they can. And I guess I'm from the old school. I think when people put down their good money to go see an artist of their favor, and he should present himself as something special, something they don't see on Skid Row, something they say, wow, man, he looks like a star, and I know he's a star because I love his music. And who put the rhinestones in country music? And there are no rhinestone mines in Nashville. Nope, they're all synthetic. Boy, is that a note of wisdom? That's knowledge I'm passing on to you. I want to talk about the guy that did it. We call him Nudie. Everybody calls him Nudie. Last name of Cohen. And this particular guy has made stage clothes for just about everybody in the entertainment business. He came from Russia. His parents sent him over to the United States from Russia to get him out of socialism and communism and all the stuff that went on over there. But the hook is they sent him when he was 11 years old. 11 years old, he shows up at Ellis Island. And his last name being Cohen, that's okay. But his first name was Nudie, and the immigration officer mispronounced it as Nudie. So it kind of stuck with him throughout his life in the United States as Nudie Cohen, which eventually it became just plain old Nudie. He landed in New York and he's hustling, this 11-year-old kid. And he's hustling for anything to eat. And he's shining shoes. He's doing whatever it takes. And I really don't know how long he stayed in New York. Not too long because he wanted to travel and he ended up going to St. Louis. And he went to Missouri. And did he go to Missouri? I can't recall where he went. Not Missouri, but it started with an M. Minnesota. He went to Minnesota. He met a girl there, a lady, and he married her. And they went back to New York. And what are they going to do for a living? He does not want to shine shoes. Now, where they got this idea from, I'm talking about he and his wife. He wanted to make clothes for the showgirls in New York. And when I say clothes, they'd be little bitty clothes because they were like G-strings or bikini pants or something, whatever the showgirls wore back in those days. And then he decided to put some rhinestones on them and make them the fanciest showgirls in New York City. And eventually he said, there's greener pastures somewhere else, doing something else. So he moved to L.A., out to West Hollywood, and opened a store. And didn't have anything really to go on except an old Western artist by the name of Tex Williams. He hocked his horse. He borrowed money on his horse and his saddle, $150, for Nudie to make him a suit that would get some attraction when he was on stage. And Nudie made the suit. And he continued to make the Tex Williams clothes, and then people would see that and say, hey, I want something like that. And he started making some elaborate clothes for many, many great artists. I guess the one that, I'm going to start with the one that probably wore Nudie suits more than anyone. He certainly owned more. I'm talking about Porter Wagoner. He had 52 Nudie suits. Now, honestly, I don't know what the first ones cost, because that was back in the late 50s, early 60s. But on an average, those 52 suits cost anywhere from $8,000 to $11,000 a suit. I don't care what decade that was a lot of money. But I'll give it to the Thin Man. He wanted to give the people their money's worth when they came to see him, and he looked like a star. Well, Nudie also made clothes for many, many other stars. Elvis, probably the biggest name. If you remember, there was an album with Elvis on it in a gold lame suit. That suit cost, I forget what the suit cost now. Somebody told me that it was about $12,000. It was a gold lame suit, and it was Elvis's suit. But he went on to make clothes, show clothes for a lot of other people that wanted to put on a show. I mean, he did Robert Redford, that, what was the name of that? The Electric Cowboy? What was the name? Anyway, I don't remember the name of the movie, but he dressed Robert Redford for the Rhinestone Cowboy. Of course, Rhinestone Cowboy was the movie with Robert Redford. Gene Autry. He dressed Gene Autry. Not with all the rhinestones, but with the Western attire for the movies he was in. He made Gene Autry's holsters. I mean, he dressed Gene Autry. He made Gene Autry some of his boots. And he was like the tailor to the stars. And Nashville got a hold of him and started doing it. Johnny Cash, he made clothes for Johnny Cash. The great John Wayne, Tammy Wynette, Dolly Parton, they all were dressed by Nudie. And it was amazing. Glenn Campbell, Robert Mitchum, and the great Hank Williams. As I remember Hank, I don't think he had rhinestones on his suits, but he had a lot of embroidery, and the suits looked very, very nice. I was not living to see Hank Williams. I was just a young guy when Hank passed away, but I've seen many pictures of him in Nudie clothes, and they always looked neat. I think Hank Jr. went on to have some made also, following more so in his father's footsteps. Hank Thompson, King of Swing, gosh, he made Hank's clothes. I can't even imagine who all he made. But then I've named you a lot of the country artists, but I'm going to name you some rock artists, some pop artists that Nudie dressed them also. Would you believe Elton John? Yes, Elton John. I imagine I've never been an Elton John fan, not because I have anything against Elton John. I just am not in that kind of music, but I know he had a huge album called Rocket Man, and Nudie dressed him for the album cover on Rocket Man. So he's gone from Porter Wagoner to Elton John. He did not stop there. How about Keith Richards, a guitar player for the Rolling Stones? He dressed Keith. Yeah, I knew Keith well. ZZ Top. That's one music out of the country genre that I really like. I always like ZZ Top. And he dressed them, fancied them up for their rock and roll shows. Emmylou Harris, dressed Emmylou up. Jim Reeves, he did almost everybody. I'm trying to think who else. I mentioned Robert Mitchum. Yes, I did. Thunder Road. Jimmy Newman. Remember seeing Jimmy C. Newman with his rhinestone suit on? the Rhinestones depicted an alligator because he had the big record, Alligator Man. But he would do that. He would play off of their records. Lefty Frizzell, King of the Honky Tonkers, he did him. Marty Robbins, oh wow, Marty would dress so neat, and Nudie dressed him. And it was just amazing. I'll footnote this by saying that I met Nudie backstage at the Grand Ole Opry. And I said, Nudie, you've got two different colored boots on. One, I think, was red. The other boot was blue. And he said, that's to remember when I was poor. It reminds me. Nudie had a thing about him that he did great work, charged a ton of money for it. By my standards, a lot of money. But it was all beautiful work and intricate works. They spent a lot of time on it. Well, I started Playboy Records for Hugh Hefner. The first person I signed was a guy by the name of Mickey Gilley. Wow, great friend, great artist. And our first #1 record was Room Full of Roses. And he was nominated by the Academy of Country Music out in L.A. as Best New Male Artist. Well, Mickey came out of Pasadena, Texas, and worked in the beer joints down there, including the big one, Gilley's, and he wore leisure suits. Does anybody remember leisure suits made of polyester? And I told Mickey, I said, Mickey, that works good on what you're doing, but if you win this award as the Best New Male Artist, you're going to be on national TV, and you've got to look like a star. So Mickey, what we're going to do is we're going to get Nudie to make you a coat, a jacket, with roses on it. Wow, that'll be cool because it depicted his first record, A Room Full of Roses, which was #1. So I called Nudie. I said, Nudie, I need a jacket, a sport coat, whatever you want to call it, for Mickey Gilley. And I need roses on it because his record was Room Full of Roses, his first #1 record. Nudie said, I can do that. And I forget the price. I don't want to lie to you. It was pretty pricey. I don't know whether it was $1,500, $2,000, whatever it was. It was a fairly pricey jacket. And so we fly out to do not to do it. We didn't know what we were going to do at that particular time. But I had seen the layout at the Academy of Country Music seating, and Gilley was on an aisle seat. And I found out that if you were going to get an award, they would give you an aisle seat. You may not know that you're getting an award or not getting one, but it made it easier to get to the stage if they called out, Mickey Gilley, the winner is da-da-da-da-da. Well, sure enough, we get out there on Lancashire Boulevard in North Hollywood, go to Nudie's rodeo shop, they called it, Rodeo Tailor maybe. And I walked in, I said, hey, Nudie, this is Mickey Gilley. You made this jacket for him. We came to pick it up. This is like 2 days before the show. And he brought out a jacket with roses on it. That's beautiful. But it was huge. And that particular time, I was a big guy. I was 6'3", 240 pounds. Mickey was an average size guy. He was a little smaller. And he put that jacket on. And I swear to you, it would have been huge on me. And I got to thinking, Nudie, his little deal with his boots, has roses on it. Everybody knows about the Rose Parade. Nudie had made that jacket for somebody to wear in the Rose Parade and apparently did not pick the jacket up. So Nudie said, I'll just pawn this off on Gilley. I said, no, Nudie, this is not going to work. And we'd sent a deposit in, and what that was, I don't remember, 50%, whatever. I said, I'd like to have the deposit back, and you save this for another great big guy to wear. And he graciously gave us our money back, our deposit. I said, Nudie, your son, Gilley, we got to find you something to wear on the show. So we went down on Sunset Boulevard to this leather store called North Beach Leather and just went in. And they had a white leather suit that just knocked me out. And I said, Gilley, if that fits you, that's what you're wearing to the award show. He puts it on and it fit like they had made it for Mickey Gilley. And if you go to an album that we did, I don't recall which album, you'll see Gilly in a white leather suit. That's the one we bought for the show. And it turns out that when it got down to the best new artist of the year, and they said, and the winner is Mickey Gilly, he looked like a star. He walked up there in that beautiful suit, and that was the first of many appearances and many awards that he would receive from the Academy of Country Music. But he looked really, really good in it. And Nudie was just a special guy, and like I said, that's when people dressed. Artists dressed like stars because the people put their money down to go see him. And he had a in-law. I wanted to say it was his son-in-law, but perhaps it was his granddaughter's husband. I met him. His name is Manuel. And when Nudie died, Manuel moved to Nashville and opened up shop there. And he was not doing as many rhinestones as he was just fancy clothes. And my wife ended up, Liz is wearing, not today, but she has worn quite often when it's appropriate, a really, really beautiful Manuel embroidered shirt, kind of like an overshirt or something. And it is absolutely gorgeous. I won't tell you what it cost, okay? But it made me very, very nervous. And matter of fact, I look at it and I'm thinking, maybe we ought to put that in the safety deposit box so we can fold it up. But Manuel makes beautiful clothes, and it's numbered as to, it was a limited amount of that particular outer shirt that Manuel made. And he's still going strong in Nashville as far as I know. Matter of fact, the guy that does all our leather work, made all my chaps, and when I was announcing rodeos, the chaps and the vest and everything. He was a real artist on making leather. Now he's making all the leather accessories that Manuel might put on a jacket or a suit. Now they've toned down and gotten away from the rhinestones, but the rhinestones certainly had their day. And you know, we've had a big time talking about Nudie and telling you what goes on behind the scenes, and encouraging, exhorting some of these newer artists to just dress like a darn star. If your record is a hit, the people love you or they wouldn't buy your record. They want to come see you. They don't want to go to Skid Row. They don't in California. They don't want to go down to the Bowery in New York. They don't want to go see anybody sleeping on the street. Dress a little bit different than street people. Come on, get a grip, guys. I urge you to do that. I cannot believe what it's come to. But you know what I want to do? I want to talk about our sponsors. I want to talk about the person that makes this show and the company that makes this show possible. And what I mentioned show also, I'm trying to build this and keep the stories and the legends of country music alive from my time in Nashville, Tennessee, so many decades, and I have so many stories. And you'll help me do this if you will subscribe and go even further. Share it with your friends and ask them to subscribe also. Now I want to talk about our sponsor, Total Feeds. Now, if you believe in something, you can sell the dickens out of it, and I believe in Total Feeds because I've tried so many of their products. Total Equine, horses, as it implies. Total Bovine, cattle. All right. Total Bull. A lot of the bulls you see on the PBR and then Pro Rodeo are on Total Bull, Total Bovine. And also Total Goat. Harry Anderson, the doctor, has put his incredible brain and a lot of thoughts in things like Total Human. Go to their website, totalfeeds.com. Look over the product. Yeah, tell them that Kilroy said he loves Total Feeds. Right now, I'm going to call from my pony. I'm going to saddle up and get out of here. I've had a big time being with you. Hey, we got to go. Are you ready? We're riding out. God bless each and every one of you. We're on the way out, and I want you to have a safe day or an evening. God bless y'all.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music. If you have any thoughts or questions about the content, email them. Kilroy Outlaws and Legends, all one word, at yahoo.com. That's Kilroy, no S, Outlaws and Legends, all one word, at yahoo.com. And don't forget to subscribe. Third-party use of any part of this podcast without the expressed consent of Eddie Kilroy is prohibited. The Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music podcast is a production of Eddie Kilroy.